Welcome back. So here we are in the Unreal Engine. We're starting to get to this functionality where we're going to say, hey, when I enter this trigger, let's do something. Let's print some text to the screen. However, we may not want to have to create a new trigger for every different thing that we want to say. So if I were to have 10 of these triggers in my world, and each one were to say a different piece of information. So one may say, welcome to the level, and one may say, turn right, and one may say, open sesame. I'm going to want to pass different information into my blueprint for it to be able to say different things for different triggers. In order to do this, I'm going to send in a string that it can say. To do this, we're going to use a variable. Variables inside of scripting represent blocks of memory where we can store information. I often like to think of them like a pocket on your shirt pocket or in a pair of jeans. It's a location where you can put some information inside of there. And then when it comes time to use that information, you can pull the information out of that pocket. To create a variable, we're going to come over to the side here under our blueprint, and there's a listing for variables, and we're going to click the little plus side to add a variable. We'll see that this adds a spot where we can type in a name for this variable, and we can give the variable a type. Variables come in a lot of different types. For this first example, we're just going to create a string because that's what the input needs to be for our print function. We're printing a string. So to change this, I'm going to select this dropdown, and I'm going to click on string. I also need to give it a name. So over here, by clicking where it needs to be named, I'm going to give this name, and I'm going to say output string. And I just chose that name. You can name it anything you want to. It's just whatever name you're going to remember represents that pocket of information. Also on this line for variables, there's a little icon off to the side. It looks strange right now. It looks like a little half circle, but once we click on it, we'll see that it's actually a closed eye. When it's clicked on, it's an open eye, and then we click it again, and that's actually a closed eye. What this icon does is it represents whether or not this variable is exposed in our blueprint. Exposed means that it's able to be seen and used by people inside of the engine. If I'm going to use this string value inside of my game, I need to select it and drag it out into the world. When I let go to drag it into my event graph, I have the option of either getting the output string or setting it. Setting it allows me to put a new value in there. Get allows me to read whatever value is in there. I want to read the value that's in there, so I'm going to get my output string, which gives us this little node. And we'll notice this pink color matches this pink color of what input comes in or what we're saying in print string. So we're going to connect these two up. And because they're same color, we'll know that we can pass the information from our string into that input. So now instead of printing open sesame, it's going to print whatever value is stored in that pocket called output string. I'm going to save and compile. And now I'm going to go back to the editor and select my trigger. So here's my door trigger selected. We'll notice that now, down in this details section, we have information about this object. We have its transform, which is its location, rotation, and scale. But now, under default, we also have this thing that says output string. This was the variable that we created. So if I were to put a different name here, that name would be printed here. Now we can edit the value for output string. So again, before we had open sesame, I'm going to put open the door, and we're going to play. And so now when I cross that trigger, it says open the door, just like I put inside of that variable. In our next video, we're going to take a look at all the different variable types that are available to us in Blueprint and get a good understanding of what they represent.